Hello, Steve White, Trekboy89 for SteveArts89. I've been enjoying going through all my stories of meeting Star Trek actors and at conventions and stuff, and I'm down to, well, not down to, I'm up to Anson Mount. Now, I wasn't sure about meeting Anson Mount because I hated Discovery at the time. The second season was bearable only when Anson Mount was on screen and when they were showing the Enterprise. And I didn't really know what I was going to say to him, but I went and I met him. I got an autograph. I was going to get a photograph, but I just was running out of time, and I had a choice between getting a photograph of him or going to a Q&A with another actor that was, and I'll give them their own video. And I'm glad I chose that because they passed away like a year or so later from the you-know-what, which, of course, people deny even exists still. So that was sad. But yeah, I met Anson and I went up to him and I said, I just have to say up front, I'm a Star Trek purist. I hate Discovery. I love you on the show. I think the actors are doing a good job, but the show itself, what the writers are doing to Star Trek and the universe and all that, I don't like it. And he said, well, I can respect that. Mediocrity is like, the worst thing in the world, It's good you have an opinion, you can express yourself, that's fine. He was really polite, really diplomatic. I knew he would be because I'd seen his interviews, and I wanted to ask him about the new show because the new show hadn't been announced yet. And I'm like, and also there'd been this rumor that when he left the show, he had assaulted one of the directors. There'd been a confrontation or an issue with one of the directors or writers, and it really looked bad. Not for him, it looked bad for the studio because it's like, he finished the show for the year because they were only going to come on for 1 year, him and Rebecca, and just do one season. And it was like they were trashing him, like they fired him, because sometimes when you fire someone, you trash them, like to try and ruin their career so they can't work anywhere else. They gave him that treatment. After he finished and he was done, they let out this story basically saying that he was, that he assaulted some director and was difficult and so forth. And I thought, wow. I want to say to him, you know what, after those stories they let out about you or told about you, I hope you really get some money out of them for this series because they need you for this series. They can't do this series without you. People want you. You've made this character, what it is. So really get that payback money out of them is what I wanted to say. But I knew he wouldn't address the issue because I knew he was too smart and too diplomatic because I wanted to ask him about it. I'm like, he won't say anything. He's too smart. I've seen him in interviews. He's trying to get this series up. He's not going to say anything to jeopardize it. So I didn't really ask him any questions. I just sort of told him, said I liked the show. And he was pretty nice. Later, I went to the Q&A, and I didn't actually ask him anything because there was a room of Discovery fans. And I'm like, I don't feel comfortable here. I'm in a room of Trekkies. And it's like, I was there with a friend, and he loved Anson Mount. He wanted to meet him and all that. And I'm like, oh, God, okay. So my friend was sitting there. It was the only thing we did together because we went to the convention together, but he ran off and did his other stuff and left me in the lines. I'm like, you're supposed to be here to help me in the lines, like because you got to work together at the convention so you don't miss out on stuff. You got to have people hold your line and hold your spot and stuff like that, and you go backwards and forwards and you work together. He didn't get how to work it. So we were both sitting there, and they were doing like questions, and the prizes were like pizzas, and my friend loves to eat, and I said, do you want the pizzas? And he said, yeah. I said, because I'm a Star Trek expert, like I'll win the quiz, and they asked questions, I answered all of them, I got all the questions right, and he got all the pizzas. And then we're walking around the rest of the show carrying these big bags of these pizzas that we'd won. It was a proud little moment for me though, because like, do you want it? He said, okay, so I'll win this competition for you because I know more about Star Trek than anyone in this room because they're all Discovery fans, and I did. No shade. But yeah, and I didn't ask him a question. He was really nice. He was really comfortable. He has this weird cowboy thing about him, and I don't really like the cowboys. I don't really like the white guys with the grey hair sort of thing. I don't really do the zaddy thing because I don't really like white guys. But he had something about him. I wish I'd said a little bit more to him because I think he probably thought that I didn't like Discovery because he probably assumed that it was because I don't like diversity and all that sort of stuff. I wish I'd sort of said, I'm gay, I really appreciate the diversity and the gay characters and all that, but I don't like what they're doing to the Federation and just the utopian vision of the future and making it cynical and dark and making the Federation the bad guy and just all about current day issues when we really were past all that in the future. That was, I wish I'd said more of that to him. I sort of assumed he would get that, but I'm thinking he probably didn't. He just thought I was some sort of weird racist person who still likes Star Trek, because that's what you get if you don't like Discovery. People just throw you in that bag with all the usual suspects, who do hate diversity and everything. But I don't. I celebrate it, and I'm part of it because I'm gay and I'm a minority. But yeah, it was nice meeting him. I wish I got a photo. I should have gone back the next day and got a photo of him, because the next day there was Jeannie was doing a talk, and the day I was there she didn't do any talks. I met her, but she didn't do any talks. So had I gone back the next day, I could have seen her do a Q&A talk, and I could have got a photo of him. But I hadn't planned to do both days of the convention, so I couldn't really afford it, and I had to go. So I do kind of regret that. But I knew I had to get an autograph because I knew he was going to be a captain of the Enterprise and he was going to have his own series. And I didn't want to have to try and get one later when he's like a bigger star and it's harder to, get them.